Hey guys, hope you are all having a great day, and boy was it a great Thursday if you were buying. This is the dip I have been waiting for to unload my vault. If you follow me on Twitter, you must have seen my purchases as I was screenshotting them. I bought me over 50 shares of GameStop alone, among some other stuff. The whole market was brutal, with the Dow having its worst day of the year after falling 622 points amid the newly surfaced invasion fears of Russia and Ukraine. We have some things to break down today, so let's Tokyo drift through the disclosure. Before we start, let me quickly state that I am not a financial advisor, and that all content discussed in this channel is simply information gathered that I deem important for people to know, so that they can make informed decisions. All efforts are aimed to better understand the nature of the current market in anticipation of the greatest squeeze in financial history. Let's dive right in. President Joe Biden and the Secretary of State publicly stated that they believe a Russian invasion of Ukraine could happen in a matter of days. If you want the most basic and simple answer as to why we traded the way we did today, that's pretty much it. The news sent a shockwave of panic over to investors around the entire world, and as a result, stocks had one if not the worst performance they have had all year. The S&P 500 fell 2.1% and Nasdaq was down 2.9%. The Dow Jones lost 1.8%, which was really troubling. Investors are nervous about what this military conflict between nations could mean for oil prices and the entire global economy. Remember, Europe imports a lot of gas and oil from Russia, and many of the primary components found in microchips are also exported from Russia. As such, any restrictions or real conflict taking place will greatly shift markets and cause major corrections across the board. Investors quickly shifted over to Coca-Cola and Procter & Gamble for a safe haven since these two companies have had reliable sales and profits. It does appear in fact that Warren Buffett's Coca-Cola is indeed the most reliable company in the markets after all. The company can be engulfed in World War III, but Coca-Cola will continue yielding great results. Gold prices also jumped into an 8-month high. Something important that is happening is that the markets are reacting very slow to bad news. Inflation news were terrible, but they did not manifest negatively on the market until a day after. Yesterday, Russia made a statement saying they were pulling back troops, but Western officials said they were actually pursing their military buildup along the border. The stock market rallied yesterday, even with this news, but completely slipped today, which shows a worrying trend that markets are having a delay for bearish news. Global head of asset allocation Paul Jackson said his presumption is that this will all be sorted out diplomatically and that if markets continue to go down a lot more, then it will be an opportunity to buy more, and I agree with him 100%. Listen, I dare not speak on behalf of Russian intelligence, but I do have a common sense, sort of. Russian economy is fully dependent on exportation of their oil and gas to Europe. If they begin a war with Ukraine, they will not win, and it will drive Europe to further their advances in finding newer sources of energy. The tariffs imposed on Russia will be so crippling, they will be sent into the dark ages. China, as much as they like to pretend they have Russia's back, will not give away their most lucrative customer relationship with the US to preserve their loyalty to Russia. Russia will find itself isolated, fighting a war it cannot win to only get tariffs imposed which will cripple them economically and expand further divide among themselves since more will quickly want President Putin to be ousted. It will begin a serious crack in Russian power, influence and union that will only have the country consume and collapse on itself. I won't say they will not invade, because good grief does the ego play such a big role in politics, but I don't think it's likely. I think this is just Western media fear-mongering to get clicks and drive ratings up. Since Donald Trump isn't in the house to drive viewership up, I guess World War III is a good close second. Fresh data came out showing the weekly jobless claims. They numbers came in at 248,000, up from the previous week, which was actually really positive. Economists thought the claims would edge down given the tight labor market, but they were really good instead. The yield on the benchmark 10-year Treasury notes also came down to 1.972%, coming from 2.044% on Wednesday. A big development in the conflict happening with Russia I forgot to say earlier is that today, they expelled the second most senior diplomat at the US Embassy in Moscow without any justification, which the United States called an escalatory move. Deputy Bart Gorman was expelled and given 2 weeks to depart the country. This is the latest move by Russian efforts to reduce the US size of its diplomatic footprint in the country. Lastly, Pathetic billionaire Charlie Munger made some comments regarding crypto and meme stocks that show the man is becoming increasingly angry and bitter that he cannot control either of them. At a recent annual meeting, he described the 2021 meme stock frenzy as a speculative orgy, saying, and I quote, "What we are getting is wretched excess and danger for the country, and a lot of people like drunk and brawl, and so far those are the people that are winning." In other words, the man doesn't like the changes happening because he isn't the centerpiece profiting from it. Anything that he can't control is dangerous and problematic for the markets. These comments came shortly after he said crypto should be banned. He remarked that crypto should be banned immediately, and confessed to admiring the Chinese for banning it, stating that he is proud to have avoided it and that it's like a venereal disease. He also called Bitcoin rat poison. Clearly, the man is very upset that people are no longer investing the traditional way, which gives him less leverage and power, and that to him is very triggering. His little public displays of contempt show me one thing: retail is slowly taking over and changing the game, and the rich are becoming more hostile than ever before. As a result of this, I put down a couple $1,000s in Bitcoin, Ethereum and GameStop. Let's see what he has to say about that. Let's now talk about today. The Fed submitted over $1.647 trillion in reverse repo operations today. Dark pool trades for AMC accounted for 56% of the total volume today, while dark pool trades for GameStop accounted for 51% of the total volume today. AMC had a larger amount of buy orders than sell orders, with GameStop also having a larger amount of buy orders than sell orders. Now, let's talk about performance. AMC traded bearishly, losing over 3% for the day. It began trading fairly neutral during the pre-market after an initial drop. It remained trading along the VWAP until market open, when it began to run from 19.40 all the way to 20.20. After reaching 20.20, AMC began experiencing a pretty substantial drop in price. In fact, the drop was so massive that it continuously fell for pretty much the remainder of the day. After reaching 18.47, the lowest point, AMC had a bounce back that drove its price up to a close at 18.94, below the VWAP. As for tomorrow, AMC will find support at 18.65, 18.22 and 17.77. Resistance will be met at 19.36, 19.66 and 20. AMC traded very bearishly as a result of the poor market conditions that presented themselves around midday. Even then, a loss of almost 4% for the day isn't even all that bad. AMC looked to be poised to run above that 20.58 earlier in the day too, which shows just how much strength and oversold this stock currently is. Times are uncertain, so be sure to grab as many shares of AMC while it's weak. I have a feeling that their next earning report is going to have some seriously bullish surprises that are going to cause a massive rally. Spider-Man alone was beat all kinds of records for AMC, and I know for a fact that big money knows this and have been buying the dip. Don't sleep on AMC because it will leave you behind. GameStop traded bearishly, losing over 3% for the day. It opened to some volatility that took it from 126.35 to 130.23. It traded back and forth, never quite finding a strong floor nor a resistance wall. It was just swinging over and under the VWAP for the first hour of trading. After some time, it began breaking above resistance lines, eventually reaching 130.84. After a small retracement, GameStop began moving up when shorters took it underneath the VWAP and kept it there. Being unable to fully consolidate above the VWAP after it briefly broke past it, GameStop fell down hard, reaching 122.22 as its lowest point. After a small bounce, GameStop closed at 123.41, below the VWAP. As for tomorrow, support will find support at 122.50, 120 and 117.50. Resistance will be met at 127, 129 and 132. GameStop also fell victim and prey to shorters who compounded poor market conditions to really drive down the price of this glorious champion. The stock seemed to be ready to retest yesterday's high at 132.85, but due to external pressures, it ended up breaking support back to where we were on Tuesday. As for tomorrow, it's really hard to predict where we might fall. If markets continue experiencing a sell-off, we will most likely cripple back down below 120, which is where I would be most optimistic about buying. If markets bounce back, we could see GameStop inch their way up above 125 and then perhaps retest 130 next week. For now, I am just as clueless as to what will happen tomorrow as you all are. For some reason, I continue seeing more and more comments from meme investors inciting war to get rich. It's pretty gross to watch people yearn for the death of what will easily amount to tens of thousands if not hundreds of thousands of innocent people who could have been your neighbors had you been born in a different part of the world. I really hope markets don't collapse as a result of a needless war. MOASS money will definitely feel tainted if it comes about as a result of a war breaking out. I personally still stand by my belief that the squeeze is not near us yet because I cannot grasp markets crashing without the housing market following along. As such, I view all this as a big fat correction for the massive historic rally we experienced for the past 2 years. At some point, this rally had to get corrected, and now we are here. Enjoy the dip. Anything you buy will bounce back up at this point, so don't get too conservative with your wallet and slap the ask on anything you deem worthwhile and safe. And that is all I have for you guys today. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and don't forget to watch my morning video. Remember to come join my Discord, I have tons of cool things going on there. If you want to support this channel, I have a Patreon link in the description as well as some one-time donation links for Cash App and PayPal. Thank you again for being a part of this channel. I will continue striving for better content. Enjoy the rest of your day, keep on buying the dip and to the moon.